When does being a fan go too far? And could these intense attachments actually secretly be making us miserable? It's actually a surprisingly complex problem. Because while being a fan can undoubtedly bring joy into our lives,
Bob Barker, I'm your biggest fan.
there's also a dark side that's been growing more and more intense in recent years. How do we know where the line with parasocial relationships really is? Let's take a look at how this behavior plays out on screen and in real life to get a deeper understanding of the real issue. Fandom can be a wonderful thing, creating community and providing an outlet for fun and creativity. As the internet and social media have allowed fans to become ever more connected, both to each other and to their celebrity or work of interest, we've also seen the intensity of fandom increase in many ways, leading to recurring discussions about parasocial relationships. Let's take a closer look at these types of fans, from the more mundane to the concerning, to get a better understanding of how they differ. And then we'll dive into what can make parasocial relationships such a particular problem, especially nowadays. Regular fandom is the most classic type of being a fan. While the term stems from fanatic, over time it's come to just mean being really into something in a generally positive way. The fan-celebrity or fan-media work relationship is in many ways symbiotic. Well, yes, there is the one-way aspect of the creator making things and disseminating them for wider consumption. That audience is a necessary part of the process. As we'll go into in a second, this can certainly begin to tip too far into a negative direction. But generally, entertainers of all kinds, of course, do want people to enjoy their output, whatever it may be, and are also aware that having fans will be beneficial to their efforts to create more and continue their work. But this can create a tricky social balance between the celebrities and fans.
My name is Poppy White. I'm your biggest fan.
Cute. Poppy, my favorite bagel.
Almost Famous illustrates the multiple facets of fandom really well. William, who is dazzled by stardom in the rock and roll lifestyle. Lester, who has built his identity around being a fan of something that he feels is changing in a way he doesn't like. And Penny, who feels a deep connection both to the music and the artists themselves.
We support the music. We inspire the music. We're here because of the music.
Each of these characters sees themselves as being very different kinds of fans.
I'm a journalist. I'm not a,
You're not a what?
not a groupie.
But at the end of the day, they actually all have quite similar roles in supporting the band and their music. The film also illustrates the downsides of that one-sided aspect of fandom. They care so much and put in so much of their own time and effort, but the band doesn't really appreciate it or seem to care at all.
Oh, of course you like him. He worships you people. And that's fine by you as long as he helps make you rich.
As hard as it might be to accept that they shouldn't frame their lives around this one thing, because they do all have other things going on, they're able to keep moving onwards and upwards. This ability to walk away and easily move on with your life is what separates a fan from a stan. Standom is much more obsessive. The term comes from the Eminem song about a fan becoming so intensely obsessed that he loses his grip on reality and harms himself and others. This kind of intensity among fans can lead to a host of negative reactions, from stan wars to stans attacking the celebrities they're a fan of and beyond. But generally, over time, the term has lost some of its negative connotation, softening from dangerously obsessive fan to just a very dedicated and sometimes intense fan. And much of this change has come about because stans have found ways to use their passion for good. They've developed communities that help people feel less alone, and sometimes are even able to use those communities to help push for larger positive changes. That doesn't mean that all of the downsides have disappeared, however. These fervent fans often want to intensify the two-way relationship of fandom. They don't just want to experience the creative output, they want control over it and the celebrity who makes it.
Now that you've gotten rid of that nasty manuscript, you can go back to doing what you're great at. You're gonna write a new novel.
So what is it that drives this difference? What pushes someone across the line from just being passionate into being obsessive and possibly even dangerous?
I thought we were friends.
Ingrid, we were never friends because everything about you is such a lie.
That often hinges on the depth of the parasocial relationship they've developed. Whether you're planning for your future or just saving up to buy one more special edition release from your fave, you want to have your finances in order. So many people can't even name all of their financial accounts and what they're worth, which can actually lead to them leaving money on the table. Feel organized and confident in your finances with Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or your phone. And right now, just for our audience, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year with the code THETAKE at monarch.com. I found Monarch to be really helpful for making sure I have a clear understanding of my financial health in the short and long term, because it helps me easily review my finances across the board all in one app. I was able to identify that I wasn't saving as much as I had thought and figure out ways to increase my savings rate and stay on track with my financial goals. Keeping track of your finances isn't always easy, and it can also be so time-consuming. That's why Monarch is so great. It links all of your accounts and gives you a clear understanding of your spending and saving with helpful data visuals and smart categorization. It was named the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal for a reason. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code THETAKE at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code THETAKE. Most all fandom falls under the concept of parasocial relationships to some extent. It's the degree of intensity of the parasocial relationship that can begin to cause problems, not the existence of a parasocial relationship at all. While there can be a positive side, which we'll unpack in a moment, most of the time when we're hearing about parasocial relationships today, it's quite negative. Parasocial relationships come from feeling like you have, to some degree, developed a real relationship with the celebrity or character you've never met.
Tommy Sherman!
That's the name. Don't wear it out.
I'm your biggest fan!
With the rise of new forms of media in the mid-20th century like radio, television, and feature films, people's relationship with performers and celebrities began to change. Now, instead of having to go out and see one performance of a play, films provided the opportunity to watch beloved stories and the performers in them over and over again. Radio and television closed the gap between entertainer and audience even more, as it brought the entertainers into the audience's own homes. Researchers began to notice this phenomenon, and Donald Horton and R. Richard Wall gave it a term in their 1956 paper, writing, "One of the striking characteristics of the new mass media is that they give the illusion of face-to-face relationship with the performer. The most remote and illustrious men are met as if they were in the circle of one's peers. The same is true of a character in a story who comes to life in these media, in an especially vivid and arresting way. We propose to call this seeming face-to-face relationship between spectator and performer a parasocial relationship." Parasocial relationships are enticing because they allow fans to feel like they're truly connected to this person they admire, and maybe even a part of their world. Since they're generally rich and famous, one can live vicariously through their not having to deal with so many of the everyday problems we have to struggle through. And because all of this relationship is fully made up in the mind of the fan, that means that they get to control the narrative. The celebrity's true personality or real intentions can be whatever the fan desires them to be. This kind of thinking, unsurprisingly, can lead to some very negative and even destructive behavior that can lead to a lot of misery for not only the fan themselves, but sometimes even the celebrity and other fans too. Intense parasocial relationships can lead to people seeing celebrities and influencers as their real-life friends.
You know, Jerry, I'm gonna tell you something. Friendship is a two-way street, and you couldn't have cared less about me.
But far from friendship, on the negative end, parasocial relationships are more in line with stalking. Following a person's every move, coming up with an idea of them in your head that often has nothing to do with them since you don't actually know them, projecting that onto them and becoming very unhappy if anything counters this vision, including them.
I thought you were good, Paul. But you're not good. You're just another lying old dirty birdie.
Also now, thanks to social media, even regular everyday people who aren't famous or even attempting to be might find themselves on the celebrity end of a parasocial relationship because someone who follows them on social media decides that they know them based off of a handful of posts. While the more intense negative parasocial relationships have long been framed as to some degree stemming from a romantic desire, Oftentimes, it's actually born out of a desire for full control over their object of interest's life. A desire to not just be a part of their life, but instead be able to pick and choose what they do and get to decide why they do it. When something aligns with one of their conspiracies, it's taken as proof that everything they believe is correct. When something doesn't, it's folded into the conspiracy. They had to do X to hide Y, or because they were forced to by their management, etc. Japanese thriller Perfect Blue illustrates this dynamic with the story of Mima, a J-pop idol who decides to try her hand at acting only to receive intense pushback from essentially everyone. But the most terrifying comes from a fan that is so upset by her choices that they decide to try to kill and replace her with a version of herself that makes the choices they want. Being forced to contend with the reality that this version of the celebrity that they've created in their head isn't real can be immensely difficult for the fan to contend with psychologically. This kind of intense parasocial relationship can also negatively impact the fan's life in a number of other ways. Their focus on this one imagined relationship can come at the detriment of, or even total replacement of, relationships in their real life. This imagined version of the celebrity's life can create an impossible to live up standard for their own, making them increasingly miserable in their own day-to-day lives. This kind of parasocial relationship, where one comes to feel like they essentially own a celebrity, can come to have negative effects on others as well. Of course, there's the celebrity themselves.
I don't care that abuse and harassment, stalking, whatever. I don't care that it's normal. I don't care that this crazy type of behavior comes along with the job, the career field I've chosen. That does not make it okay.
Thanks to social media, many celebrities at least feel like they're easier to reach than ever, and this can lead to intensely parasocial fans constantly attempting to contact them. But it also means that they're far more likely to just come across parasocial fans trying to dictate their lives, even if they aren't directly reaching out. Just the pressure of this intense side of fandom can totally alter how celebrities live their lives. Fans who develop these intense to the point of delusional parasocial relationships can also cause problems for other fans too. Their feeling of ownership over the celebrity, and the fierceness with which they lash out at anyone that dares to counter their delusions in any capacity, leads to other fans feeling like they're not allowed to really engage with the celebrity or their work in a real way, because they know they'll be attacked for even the slightest criticism. So, does this all mean that parasocial relationships can only be negative? Nope. Parasocial relationships aren't always a bad thing. It was even framed as more of a curious social quirk of new media styles in that original paper. And for some, it does remain in this rather innocuous form without ever growing into a real problem. Horton and Wall explained, "Nothing could be more reasonable or natural than that people who are isolated and lonely should seek sociability and love wherever they think they can find it. It is only when the parasocial relationship becomes a substitute for autonomous social participation, when it proceeds in absolute defiance of objective reality, that it can be regarded as pathological." A 2022 study found that approximately 51% of Americans have engaged in behavior consistent with parasocial relationships. This behavior includes things that we all do at times, like being sad when a TV character is killed off, or upset when your favorite band breaks up, or happy when your favorite actor wins an award. While, as we've discussed, parasocial relationships absolutely can trend in dangerous directions, when held on this more reasonable, realistic level, they can actually have a lot of benefits. They can provide a feeling of being understood that the fan may not have in their real life, and even help them find a community of like-minded people, helping them to feel less alone. And instead of solely living vicariously through the famous person in question, the fan can instead see their life as a positive example to follow in their own lives, helping them to find the confidence to go after what they want. Parasocial relationships are an incredibly complex dynamic that can fall across such a wide range of experiences, so we'd love to hear what you think. Have you ever developed something that you'd consider a parasocial relationship, positive or negative? If so, how do you feel it impacted your life?
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.